Hello, everybody. I'm Gary Laubach, along with Mike Joseph. This is Behind the Mic. As the Pioneers of Sacred Heart University will be coming to town for the home opener for Lafayette. That is a 6 o'clock start, and it will be on the Lafayette Sports Network. That makes us very, very happy. Mark Knopfrey comes in, sixth-year head coach at Sacred Heart. I'm not sure what we learn, if anything, about a game against Stetson out of the Pioneer League. Obviously, probably not a tough opponent. So what does head coach John Garrett take from that game?
Well, I mean, obviously he gets a game on film, which is very important. So he gets to look at what Stetson ran against Sacred Heart. He probably can go back 2 years ago to the games that Lafayette played against Sacred Heart when we had our home and home games. So, I mean, Sacred Heart's going to bring a team with a lot of athletes in here. They're going to bring a team with a quarterback who's new, a smaller quarterback, a quarterback that's probably more used to running the football, setting up the play-action pass with the run. He's got two nice running backs behind him. He's got a good returner. I mean, they're going to come in here again with a five-man offensive line that is a veteran offensive line. So we're going to see two back-to-back teams that have some veterans. I thought Lafayette did a great job up front early in last week's game, but this week's going to test them as well.
This is a ball club, as Mike indicated, that has a quarterback who just did receive, as we speak to you today, the Northeast Conference Offensive Player of the Week, Kevin Duke. He rushed for 81 yards. That's a career high for him. He ran for 3 touchdowns. He threw for a touchdown and 155 yards, and I think that does indicate what Mike said is one of their strengths, and that's their offensive line. And this is a team that loves to run the football. 201 yards per game last year. They ran for 301 yards on Saturday. They're going to run at us.
Yeah, I think they're going to come right at you. They're going to run the spread. They're going to run the downhill inside zone play. They're going to try to get outside. They're going to use the quarterback. It's going to be very important for Lafayette's front four to control the offensive line and allow our linebackers to run, because you can see what Michael Root can do. A real healthy Michael Root. You can see what Brandon Bryant can do. You know, remember, Brandon came back. That's his first game in about almost a full year. So he's got to get his feet back underneath him. And having Jerry Poe and some of these kids come downhill from the secondary is going to be important. But our defensive line is going to have to handle them up front and eat up blocks and allow our athletes to run to the ball.
Michael Root had 8 tackles in the ball game on Saturday, and Brandon Bryant with 7 tackles, as you would expect the linebackers to get. It's a team that was led by Amamu Mayfield, the running back, as he had 93 yards. But when you look at this ball club, the thing that obviously will concern us the most, our inability to rush the football again on Saturday. And now we're going up against the defense, Mike, where every starting player is either a fifth-year player or a senior. Talk about experience. You can't have any more experience than that.
No, you can't. You can't. And those kids they can draw on a lot of different things against a lot of different teams. And having that experience is one thing. But Lafayette has that home game. They have an ability here to come out and kind of show that, last week when they did move the football, it wasn't a fluke. They can do some things up front. I thought some of the linemen played really well. I thought they pass protected pretty well, even though they sacked O'Malley 4 times. A couple of them were his fault. A couple of them he didn't get rid of the football, but that's expected. But I think, offensive line-wise, they're going to have to find the way. Last week I put such an emphasis on the short passing game. The first pass, incomplete, dropped. But then it kind of picked up. I thought he was about a little under 70%, under 15 yards. But you must be able to threaten down the field. Lafayette didn't throw the ball really down the field past 40 yards until the fourth quarter last week. So I think to kind of get some of those safeties and those aggressive safeties you're going to see from Sacred Heart and linebackers, you're going to have to kind of get those guys off the ball, push things a little bit. It should open some things up. So do you work backwards? Do you throw the football to run the football? That's what everybody says. It may be an opportunity for, again, the short passing game, and for Lafayette maybe to run the football a little bit, and O'Malley to use his legs a little bit more than he did in the first game.
And, of course, Matt Mrazek had a good ball game after they found him. Only 1 catch in the first half. He had 8 catches in the second half. And as I agree with you, I think they used more of the whole field in the passing game in the second half than they did in the first half, but kind of understandable with a freshman quarterback. One final question. Assess the performance of Sean O'Malley in game 1.
I thought he was very poised. That's the one word that comes to my mind. Obviously, he threw the pick early, but you could just see the presence that he has back there, the command. I mean, there were very few penalties you can put on him. There were no delay of games. There were a few false starts, which again goes with that continuity between him and the offensive line, so the changing cadence things. But I thought he was very poised. A couple times I saw him look to the same receiver a couple times, that same pass. Instead of looking for the second level, I saw him read half the field, not the whole field. But there were times, especially down the field, when he threw the ball to Nick Pearson. I mean, it was a terrific throw. Nick made a wonderful catch. The 3rd and 1 was a huge play. The confidence that John Garrett showed in a freshman quarterback on a 3rd and 1 at a critical point point in the game to maybe make that fake and go down the field, even though he was sacked. We saw Nick kind of running wide open. Those are things that are going to pay dividends down the line. Sean O'Malley, I think, is his quarterback, and I think he's going to ride him until, something different happens.
So Sean is also, he'll have a week of looking at Sacred Heart's defense. He'll have a week of looking at his own offense and the things that he saw on the field he now can kind of interpret as he looks at the film. If you can, get out here to Fisher Stadium on Saturday, 6 o'clock for Sacred Heart. If you can't, Mike and I will be there on the Lafayette Sports Network. Thanks for joining us behind the mic.